Although, May, I feel like I should have your picture up there as well.
Oh
You're gonna
no,
you're gonna be
no,
Heather
it's
today.
okay.
How's that?
That's a lot to, that's some big shoes to fill.
I know, right? So, kind of as we're about to roll into our class, I'm just going to jump in if that's all right, May, and maybe I'll
Of
have you
course.
keep your eyes on people coming in. Again,
Sure.
welcome everyone. We have a really big class today, so we're asking that you stay muted to minimize any background noise, and we can focus our attention on our amazing chef. If you have a video on yours, if you can press that little icon that has where the green arrow is showing here, that's by the camera to turn off your camera. Not you, Chef Alyssa. You're just on the spotlight. You have to stay on camera. So,
Okay.
you know, we want you guys to feel some interaction. So there's a little chat button. If you click it, you should see on the right some chatting where I had written hello. You can chat in hello. We're glad you're here and welcome. It's 5 o'clock. It's our favorite Monday of the month when we have our wonderful Chef Alyssa here to join us. My name is Allison, and I am one of the facilitators. I am a lifestyle coach for the Health Education Department, Wellness Department, where you're part of a bigger team. We have May Lynn here as well, and Heather Charles. She's usually here with us, but she is on vacation right now. So, May, I wish that was a picture of you, but you can always say hi if you like. Welcome, everyone. I'm glad you're with us. So, tonight, if you are here for culinary medicine, you are in the right place. Now, you may be asking yourself, what's so special about whole food plant-based diet? Well, in addition to cutting your carbon footprint in half, which is always nice, it's also the only diet shown to prevent and reverse chronic diseases such as type 2 diabetes and coronary artery disease. You heard that right, preventing and reversing disease. That's a really big deal. So, again, welcome to people as you guys are joining in. It's nice to see you. We do ask everyone as you come in to mute and turn off your cameras just so we don't have any background noise as you come in. So, May, I'll just have you interrupt me anytime if you see
Okay.
anything or need anything at that point. So,
Sure.
what is whole food plant-based diet all about? This
Hey,
diet
Allison,
celebrates, yeah,
quick question. Are you showing your PowerPoint?
I am. Is it not up for you? Can you guys see my PowerPoint?
I can.
Okay.
Okay, it must just be me then. Okay, sorry.
Okay, here I could. Okay, great. As long as you guys, everyone can see it, that's great. You can chat in. Let me know if you can see it on the screen. It should say my favorite saying that I'd like to tattoo on me. Eat foods not too much, mostly
So,
plants. So Rick
Rick is
says
saying
no.
no. Yeah.
Okay, let me see if I can spotlight it.
Maybe reshare it.
Okay, hang on. Let's do it again. Let me stop sharing and share it again. Okay, give me 1 second and we'll try it one more time. Let's see if that gets it back up for all of us.
Oh, okay. Some folks saw it, some folks didn't. All
Yeah.
right.
So maybe it wasn't in the center, but we'll do it. It doesn't matter. This is all the fun of live
Yeah.
TV, right? So how
Perfect.
about now? Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
All good? Fantastic.
Yeah.
So terrific. So let's kind of jump back in again. What's the purpose of a good whole food plant-based diet? It really celebrates food in the most natural form, and it's the closest to the way it was grown. And it includes fruits and vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds. And it really, the idea of this is to minimize processed foods, refined sugars, white flours, and animal derived foods. So while changing your eating style may seem a bit daunting, this style of eating can best be summed up by the word you see on the screen, written by Michael Pollan. He's an American author and journalist who's written several books about food and health, and he coined this simple phrase, and it's a great one to follow. Eat foods, good whole foods, not too much, and mostly plants. Most people know that vegetables are good for them, yet very few of them eat them. And a major barrier has been that these foods have not been seen as delicious. they're often portrayed as like a chore to eat. So we're really hoping that we're going to shift that. And I know Chef Alyssa always does that for me. We're going to open our minds and
Thank you.
experience a great new way of eating if you're not already there. So while we hope this class today plants a seed of curiosity for healthier cooking, we're also going to put a link in the chat for this video series. In fact, I want to do that right now since we're not showing it. If you have, let me put this in right here. This is the Stanford. Let me know if that opens for you, May, or if you see it in there. It's from the Stanford School of Medicine, and they put together a series called Food and Health, and we strongly encourage you to check it out. It's a series of about 17 videos that range in length from 3 to 5 minutes, and it gives you really practical skills and information on what to eat and how to eat healthier. Also, you got this great flyer. I want to take a moment to briefly touch on this handout that we included with the class, specifically the healthy plate. Some of you may be familiar with the food pyramid that we might have grown up with. In recent years, we've changed that. We want to make it easier. The healthy plate's divided into 3 parts, with half of it dedicated to beautiful vegetables, making that the star of the plate. You might notice the quote, meat is not included as one of the food groups. It instead is called protein, and that can be plant-based proteins such as beans, lentils, or tofu. The ingredients we'll be focusing on in this class. So with that, just so you know, when you got your original email, not the one to get into the class, this is what it should look like if you're like, I don't have the recipes. Just so you know, it's in the original email, not the reminder email. So all of these recipes are here for you. So I want to stop talking. I want to kind of hand it over to you, Chef. Do you mind before we start the demonstration to kind of go over, I think this is the first roasted vegetable recipe that you wanted to do. Do you mind sharing just a little bit about ingredients before we get started?
Sure. And actually, we're going to be doing the kabocha one first. So I don't know if that matters with me talking about it, but not that one. Yeah, that one.
That perfect? Okay.
Yeah, you're perfect.
All right.
Okay, so we're going to start out with roasted kabocha salad with a vinaigrette dressing. And this is one that I helped with a Dash of Aloha cookbook several years back through the Kapilani Community College. And so we're going to be highlighting this today, and it uses kabocha, which is really popular here on the islands. So we're going to cut up a kabocha, and we're going to toss it with some onions and red bell peppers, and then we have some olive oil. We're going to roast it, and then we're going to season it with some beans and cilantro and some sesame seeds, and then we have a dressing that we put together. So that is going to be the first recipe that we're making.
And this is the second one, right?
Right, yeah. So
All
the
right.
second one we're going to be doing is a savory roasted vegetable, which is something from a cookbook similar to, it's called Vegetarian Nights, which is no longer in print. But the woman lived on Maui. Her name is Bonnie Mondo. And this is, I don't know if it's exactly the recipe. I think it's just a rendition because it's just, you can play with it so much. But the idea came from her. So it's taking 4 cups of any kind of vegetables that you want to put together, what you have in your fridge, what's abundant at the market, and combine that with just in one bowl, some chopped garlic, some olive oil, Bragg's or shoyu, balsamic, and then some sort of a sweetener, mirin or maple syrup. Then you just roast that. You got some, some dried herbs and some fresh, whatever you have. You roast that, and we'll talk a little bit more about the dynamics of the vegetables and how to, prep them. And then you just add some fresh parsley, and it's just wonderful. These are both such easy recipes to put together.
Fantastic. You know what's so nice? I'm going to take this down and I'm going to spotlight your your beautiful table there. So one of the things that I like is we all get so nervous about roasting. So I think that's what's going to be exciting is to realize it isn't that hard. It's something we all can do. I'm hoping everyone, you guys feel free to chat. Can you see beautiful Chef Alyssa's blue bowl in the center of your picture right
Yes,
there? And then
looks
there we
great.
go. So I'm going to let you just jump on in, and you guys please feel
Okay.
free to chat in questions as she's going.
All right.
All right.
So, kabocha, I think it's so popular here in Hawaii, but I think also that people are a little daunted by a hard squash, pumpkin, also known as kabocha pumpkin or a winter squash. How do you cut it? Just how do you work with it? How do you choose it? So this is part of one, I have cut it up into 1-inch chunks. So I have that available for the recipe. But I will also just kind of want to talk a little bit about how you choose it, how you cut it, and what you're looking for. So I will go ahead, we'll circle back to this, but this is just what it looks like. It's kind of an orange, a green pumpkin with these stripes that run through it. And so they're generally in most of the markets here on the islands. But once you have peeled it and cut it into even chunks, this is what it looks like. So I'm going to put it in the bowl and just make the recipe, and then we'll show you a little bit more about cutting it up. Now what I have some red bell pepper. And again, this is kind of just for a nice color variation. I've got that cut into, it doesn't have to be really small pieces. The biggest focus, I think, is to just make sure that your kabocha, which is going to take the longest to cook, if you can have them all relatively around the same size, and if they're about 1/2-inch chunks, then it won't take too long to cook. And then they will all cook evenly. And then I have some chopped red onion, and that'll add a little bit of color, nutrients for the red.
I'm going to interrupt for just one second, just because we're having some people having some technical difficulties. I'm hoping most people can see. I'm going to stop and spotlight it one more time. Chefs, I'm going to spotlight for everyone, so hopefully it'll be back in the center. Ideally, as soon as you see that bowl in the middle, if you need to, you can right-click on it and spotlight for yourself. Try not to press too many else. Can most people see it now? I hope you can see most people see it. I'm going to have you keep going. But that can't see the bowl. Okay, it's just an 8. And this is the only other thing I would suggest. If you have a hard time, you can always log out and log back in. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's fine. We good?
Okay, thanks. Keep going.
Okay, so we've got it in the bowl, and I'm just going to drizzle about a tablespoon of olive oil. So I have some organic extra virgin olive oil that I got at Target. They have some good olive oil, a good price. And so I just got that. I'm going to toss it around. Then I have here some cumin. I don't know if you can see it really well with that white background, but I've got some cumin, some chili pepper, could be cayenne. This is the shimichi togarashi that I like so much, and some salt. This is some Himalayan salt, so I'm going to add that in. And then I have some garlic. Now, you don't really need to mince your garlic really fine. Actually, I did put minced, but you don't really need to for this recipe because it's kind of, how you roast vegetables. You can actually roast whole cloves of garlic in here if you wanted, if you're a real garlic fan. You know how you can buy those whole cloves at anywhere, Safeway, Costco. You can buy that big bunch of whole peeled cloves. You can do that, or you can just do just some garlic, chunky garlic in here. It can also be minced, as it says in the recipe, but it's going to be roasted. So roasting means that when you roast garlic, it's going to make the flavor really mild and almost kind of sweet. So it's not like going to have the big bite to it. So I've got that. I'm going to toss it all together. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to put this, let me just scoot this over a little bit. I'm going to put this, I have this half sheet pan because I have a little toaster oven, one of those Breville's convection ovens. So that fits right into my toaster oven. So I have this lined with parchment paper, and then I am going to layer this in here and then just kind of make it flat so that it'll all roast evenly, just like that. And then I'm going to pop that into my oven, 350-degree oven, and cook it for about 30 minutes. Okay.
And Chef, can I ask you something? So, we hear it's good to
Yes,
kind of
you
try to
can.
cut up your vegetables about the same size. Is that right? Or close to it so they roast well? Is that what people
Yes.
should be doing? Okay. I know that sounds silly, but I'm one of those people who need to know, need to know that.
Right.
I'm not the cook in the house.
Okay. Yes. About the same size is very, very helpful when you're roasting. Okay. So here you
Fantastic.
go. I'm going to put it in the oven. I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to put it in my oven and turn it on. And then I'm going to make believe 30 minutes is, this is just like a show, right? Make believe 30 minutes has passed and I have some roasted vegetables. So this is, so what I did actually for today's class is I made half a recipe. I roasted it. So I demoed half the recipe. So just so you can, so I can be timely on it. So this is half of the recipe roasted. So this is the kabocha. What I also like to do before because I just don't like vegetables that aren't cooked all the way through, when you roast it. So I will like mash one or poke it with a knife or just try and see if they're cooked. And it's really just the kabocha. Everything else is going to be nice and soft. So then at this point, we're going to add in white beans. Now, these are cannellini beans. And cannellini beans, if you're not familiar with it, are soft white beans. They kind of have the texture of kidney beans. They're soft and white, kind of big. Or you could use Great Northern beans. That's another one. Can we roast without oil? Should I answer that now? I just saw that.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you. I didn't want to interrupt. There were just a couple. I know you might be
Yes.
showing how to cut the kabocha because, like any squash
Right.
or how hard that is. And then can you roast without oil? So,
yes, I was going to show you about the kabocha. I just wanted to finish this. Yeah, right. So, okay, so I'll just pause here. Yes, you can roast without oil. You can toss it with a little bit of broth and then put it in just to moisten it. You can cover it with foil. I tend to like cover it with parchment and then foil, and then that'll speed up the process without drying it out too much. The other thing is if you can use minimal amount of oil, you can also use one of those sprays, just a spray oil just to give a light coat. So those are the three options I would recommend.
Thanks,
okay. Chef. Sure. Okay. So cannellini beans or Great Northern beans, actually you can just put in whatever you want, but the white beans really go well, the flavor, because it's real mild flavor. You could even use navy beans. They're kind of small, but you could use them in here. I just really like the cannellini beans because they're really soft. So they really work well with this recipe. And then we have some toasted sesame seeds. So I toasted these on a skillet. And I have some chopped cilantro. You could use cilantro or parsley. And then you just toss this together. And you can add in a little bit. I have a dressing that I put together, and the dressing is a combination of olive oil, rice vinegar, shoyu or Bragg's. Bragg's is a liquid aminos. It's a kind of a soy sauce substitute that's a little less salty. If you're not familiar with it. A sweetener, I used agave just because honey, some of the honey I have right now is kind of thick, so it's kind of hard to mix in. And you could even be a little maple syrup. And then I had the juice of a lime, fresh lime. So I am going to put a little bit in here. Oh, let's see here if I could just mix it up a little bit. Or a little bit in. And then toss it. You don't need, you can just eyeball how much you need. And then you can adjust flavors to taste if it needs a little bit of salt or pepper. And I have, let's see here, I have a lettuce leaf in my fridge waiting. I had some butter lettuce, so I have some lettuce. And this is great as a nice little salad. You can eat it in that lettuce leaf just like that. Yeah. So it just makes a real nice dish. You can
That
take
looks
with you.
fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
How long
Yeah.
does that last in the refrigerator?
Oh
Like
gosh.
yeah, once you
I
make
would
it.
say, yeah, 3 to 4 days. There's really not much that can go wrong other than, the beans, but yeah, it'll last a while, but it goes pretty quick. It's kind of tasty, this one. But it's
Talk
great to
about
take just like
beautiful
this.
colors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of eating things in lettuce leaf cups. So, I mean, especially when you get some nice butter lettuce or romaine lettuce, it's yummy. So there you go. That is what it looks like when it's finished. And I will show you about cutting the kabocha. No one has any questions at this point?
Perfect. I do want to add in as you're about to cut it, we're growing that in our backyard, and just like zucchini, it really can grow. You have to watch it grow, but how can you tell? Can you tell, like you were saying, if it's ripe, or if you do cut into it and it looks a little green, is there a way you can get it to ripen? So any of those kind of might be some questions,
I have only bought store-bought kabocha, and it's always been orange inside. I mean, sometimes depending upon where it's grown and the age, kind of what you're mentioning, sometimes the local ones can be a little pale inside, like a pale orange, almost kind of like a golden yellow, and a little more watery and not as flavorful. But the ones from New Zealand are like really, really flavorful. At least I found in the past, and they generally come in certain times of the year, which I'm trying to remember when. It's been a while, and they are denser, more orange. This is kind of in the middle with color. So I don't know if you cut into it and it's not really orange. I don't know how that works as far as trying to make it get darker. Sorry, I can't answer that question about growing it.
It's okay. We do have a question here. The greens you used on the bottom of your serving, what kind of greens did you use for your lettuce?
It's butter lettuce.
Butter? Fantastic.
Yeah, this is butter. It's a nice head of butter lettuce. Yeah.
And I will add in, since we do grow that. When it's green, it's just a little less ripe, and it just, it still tastes really good. I was just wondering if you can ripen it up if you've cut it open. It just has a little bit different of a texture, because it is hard when you look at the outside of them to know. So you might give us some tips of knowing what you're looking for when you're buying it. But they are so great. Don't be scared of them. It's just, they do grow well here, and it's just not knowing if they're ripe. If you cut it open and it's a little green, it still is delicious.
Yeah, the when you buy them in the stores, what you want to look for is the ones that are kind of like, you actually hold them in your hands, that are kind of heavy and dense feeling. So kind of pick up a couple, gauge between them, which ones feel heavier. I have heard, and I mean, this is a good example, that if they've got kind of the bumpy stuff on it and a little bit of the yellow and aren't like perfectly green outside, they're like, look a little worn. They tend to have more flavor and are more dense. The flesh is more dense. I don't know if that helps, but that's the way I choose. I usually just, take about 4 or 5, and I'm feeling them, and just, kind of get a gauge of a visual, and that's how I choose them. I have heard that you can, if you microwave, I'm not a big microwave fan, but you can, if you're a little nervous with the whole knife and that initial cutting part with the kabocha.
Wow, 150 a night.
You can microwave them for like a minute, and it'll soften the outside of the skin, and then you can pierce it really easily. So that's one way you can approach cutting it. I generally try and cut them in half. I also try and use a knife. Like because I cook a lot, I'm kind of into knives. I mean, I enjoy
Oh.
knives. Let's put it that way.
Oh, that's
But
good.
so
So what,
I
did you guys book your flights yet and everything?
I use a knife that tends to be kind of have a thicker blade and not have a real thin point. Because some of those like the Mac knives that you see here locally, you have that really thin, pointy edge. You can snap that off, the point. If you get the, kabocha in, you get your knife in the kabocha and then you like twist it a certain way, it can actually like break off. So you want to have a sturdy knife for that initial. I try and cut it in half. And then once I cut it in half, I then try and keep it on a flat surface. Whatever that cut is, I put it on a flat surface and then I start from there. So then I have it cut and I will cut it into pieces like this, like that, right? And then from there, again, another flat surface, I will start cutting the skin off. Now, if it's organic, a lot of people like to simmer their kabocha, and they'll actually eat the skin. So that's something to think about. You can, in a lot of local Japanese dishes, they keep the skin on. I always, because I cook for people who a lot of them are health compromised, I'm always thinking about, is it organic? Is it sprayed? Is it going to be an issue for these people who are really trying to be mindful of what they're putting in their bodies? So I kind of just default to think like that. But you can, if you want, it's a good source of fiber. I don't know. I don't think this one is organic because I bought it at Times. Times has usually got a good source of kabocha. So then I just keep doing that. So this one is, I'm going to take off the skin. This one said it came from the US. It wasn't local, as far as I know. Sometimes Alun Farms, they have a lot of kabocha. They sell at certain times of the year. And then I try and cut it in, excuse me, I'll put this in here, in even pieces for whatever I'm doing. And a little skin's fine. And then this one, I don't know. I kind of, I cut it kind of close on the edge. So that could be, let me see if I do it this way. Again, I always try and keep a flat surface so I'm not going to hurt myself in the process of cutting. Hope
Yes,
that
and
helps.
yeah, and while you guys are doing it, is true. If you do know that, the source of where you got your any type of squash, especially this one, the skin, it does taste good. Like and we did have a comment in here. It cooks up fine and doesn't have a bitter taste, and it holds together
Oh,
better in
yeah.
soups for
Yeah.
sure.
Yes.
So
yes.
if you know it's organic and you've given it a good wash, I recommend people try skins. Like the same with sweet potatoes or some, there's so much
Yeah.
fiber there.
I agree, and and there's the Japanese dishes where they actually, you cut it into these big slices like I just did, and then you leave the skin on and you simmer it maybe in like a shoyu mirin kombu broth, and then you can turn it over and it keeps its shape and it tastes delicious because it absorbs all those flavors. But when you take the skin off, it just all kind of crumbles. So I agree. Sometimes it's really helpful to have, and it doesn't taste bad at all.
Yeah, and
Doesn't
we had
taste like
another
anything.
question for you
Yeah.
that I know you've answered another one. Someone asked about, can you make this recipe without the onions because it does trigger this person's migraines? And what would you suggest as a substitute if you weren't going to use onions in here? Do you have a suggestion?
Oh gosh. Well, the recipe does say leeks or onions, but I don't think that's not really answering her question. I think whatever, because it's in the onion family, they probably all would trigger it the same way. I have not really thought about a direct onion substitute if outside of the onion family. I know, you could do like shallots but I don't know how that works with the migraine trigger. So I would
Fair
just
enough.
leave it out.
Yeah.
I personally would just leave it out. It's going to taste delicious even without the onions.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Any
Thanks.
other questions? Should I move on?
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, maybe show it one more. I know you'll show it again, but let's take a look one more time at your final product and our
Yeah.
beautiful salad. And again, what's nice is didn't you say this was half? Like it's amazing how much food you can make and it does
Right.
last well. And the thing that's so
Mhm.
nice about roasting vegetables, they taste good now, but boy, they sometimes taste even better the next day. So,
Yes.
all those flavors. So, try it today, try it tomorrow. You can do it like you said, have it for how many days? 3 or 4 days in the
Oh,
refrigerator.
yeah,
So,
for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah,
I think
perfect.
it'll be gone by then.
Yeah, they never last that long.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And it's good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, let's
Okay.
move on to our next recipe.
Okay. All right.
Oh, we do have one question as you're pulling it. When you make the dressing, what
Uh-huh.
would you substitute for the oil? If you know.
Let's see here. So olive oil, rice vinegar, shoyu. You could just do a little apple juice. You could do a vegetable broth, or you could do a little water. I don't think it's just going to basically, you probably want something to just dilute the vinegar and shoyu a little bit. Yeah. So those would be my suggestions on the dilution.
Great. Another question is, can you freeze pumpkin? Or can you
Yes.
freeze squash? Okay,
Yes.
fantastic.
Yes. Yeah.
Great.
And yeah, no problem.
Cubed. It's best to kind of cut it all up and have them cubed. Don't try to freeze it whole.
Oh, right. And I didn't talk about how I took out the seeds because I had already taken out, the seeds on this one. But I used to years ago, and somehow it got lost. I loved it though. It was like an ice cream scoop, but it had like little ridges on it. So it would like take out all the seeds and this, the little bit of what do you call that? Strings that are with the seeds, especially like regular pumpkins, right? How you have all that. But I just use like a real good spoon that's sturdy, and I just scrape it out. So maybe something like this again, kind of, I use a sturdy one that it's not going to like this one might snap. I just think something that's sturdy to be able to scrape out the seeds. Hopefully that answers that.
That's
And yes,
perfect.
you can
That's
freeze
great.
it. Okay. All right.
Yeah, and it says you can also, the great comments in here about you can roast them whole or half and then freeze it as well. It is a really
Yeah.
durable vegetable. It's a really good one, very hardy, such a good source of vitamins. A great one.
Yes, you can. Okay, so yeah, that's a great other idea. Instead of like microwaving it, you could roast it whole, and then afterwards, when it's completely cooked, you would pierce it with a knife again to check. You could do it about 40 minutes at 350 in the oven. You just pop it on one of the racks, and then you let it cool a bit. You would maybe cut it in half, and then take out the seeds again, and then either way, you can scoop out the skin and cut it in big chunks and add it to the rest of this recipe. Or you can, if it's, you want the skin, then you can cut the whole thing. Once it's the seeds are out, then just cut it into chunks and add it in the recipe. So that's always a nice way to cook kabocha if you don't want to deal with the whole poking it with a knife while it's hard angle.
Perfect. And then we had someone say it also cooks well in an Instapot. So that's nice to know. There's lots of ways to do it.
Yes, Instant Pot. Okay. Oh, we're going to make the savory roasted vegetables. Let me get my other little, half a sheet pan.
And for those of us that were in your Magic with Mushrooms first one, now we're excited because we know we got your mushroom there. We're going to have a second class of that, Chef.
Yeah, and there's a couple things we talked about off camera before this the class was about, right, the storage. I don't think we talked about the best way to store mushrooms. So in the sense that it's always good when you get that package to take it out of that and either wrap it in like a paper bag, or because you don't want the moisture of that plastic wrap will start affecting the mushroom if you don't use it right away. So you want to either take off the plastic wrap, maybe cover it with a little paper towel, or transfer it into a paper bag. That was one thing. I'm not sure if
I'm glad you said it now. That's great.
And
great
then,
for sharing that.
The other thing was, excuse me, from listening to that podcast, I still have that that mushroom book from the library. It's so interesting. But the podcast that I had listened to also had, the woman had said, definitely wash your mushrooms. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. So wash your mushrooms. So, because I know that that's a question that always comes up. So I just thought I would share both of those before I move on. So I guess any questions or I'll move on.
Keep going.
Okay, so this recipe, I did the same thing. I did half a recipe. You know, I cooked up half of a recipe. So what you're seeing here is half of a recipe, but the recipe calls for 4 cups of vegetables. And what I did today was I did a combination of carrots, which I did not pre-cook, right? So they're kind of sliced thin. And then I did daikon, because I love roasted daikon. There's just like, that's like my favorite way to eat daikon, is to roast it with a bunch of vegetables. So I have some daikon, and it can be in pretty big chunks. Then I have a, what is this? It's an organic, where did I get it? Whole Foods. I got it, it's an organic yellow potato. So I pre-cooked, I partially cooked the potato so that it would roast evenly with the other vegetables. So I have,
Sorry, Chef, I'm just going to ask everyone, if you don't mind, if you see that we mute you, if you could stay muted, that would be fantastic. Thanks,
this
Chef.
is a potato that it's still like, I would pierce it. I actually pressure cooked it in a little bit of water, and then I would check it with, I would poke it. I would poke it, and it might be a little crunchy kind of going in, but then that, to me, that's good, because you got 30 minutes of roasting. And then what I have is I have some, I had some ali'i, hamakua ali'i mushrooms. So I cut up those into chunks. I got onions, white onions, and then I have a little bit of broccoli for color. And then I wanted to show you, I've got 1 small portobello. So I wanted to show you how I work with the portobellos before I put it in, because if I don't take out the gills on a portobello, it'll make the whole thing dark. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. So this is my vegetables of choice today. And then I have a nice fresh sprig of rosemary from a neighbor, and I just rinsed it. And I have some oregano, so I'm adding some oregano in there. I'm going to do chickpeas today, because I think roasted chickpeas are just so delightful. And I have some chunky garlic. And then I'm going to, since I have it, show you this and then cut it up and put it in. I'm going to just, I'll put it over here. I'm just going to clean my gills with a spoon. I did cut the, I did cut the stem a little bit. I tend not to roast the stems of portobellos in general. It can get kind of woody. And it helps if your spoon has a little bit of a kind of a pointy edge. This one's kind of thick. This one's a little thinner, and it'll get it.
It's really a good tip, because you don't really think about that could truly change the color of everything.
And whether that matters,
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't exactly, but that's a nice extra little tip.
I think because I do a lot of cooking for other people, it's always like presentation, right? You don't want something to be all brown, or they might not want it all brown.
Chef, that's why we're here to watch you. You're giving us all the tips and tricks, so we all look like our own home chef.
Okay, so this is a combination of olive oil, shoyu, balsamic, and mirin. So I'm just going to use
chickpeas to put into that.
I'm sorry?
How much of the chickpeas did you put in? Was that about a
Half a
cup?
can.
Half a can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks.
It's hold on. Just quickly. Yeah, I think it's a little more than half a can between these two. You can just eyeball it, and then whatever you have left, you can just freeze.
Now we're getting, as you're about to do that, we're getting some questions about mushrooms, about do you wipe them off with a damp towel? Do you recommend rinsing mushrooms with fruit and vegetable wash or plain water? You know,
I did
there's
plain
lots
water.
of, yeah.
Yeah. I would think, I don't know about the vegetable. I mean, I guess I've never really used the vegetable. I haven't used that for a long time. So you do the vegetable, you spray it, right? Then you rinse it. Because it's not like you just spray it. I'm not sure how that works with vegetable wash. Anybody have any answers on that one?
Yeah, feel free to chat them in. We like seeing it, but lots of
But
debates.
I have with a really damp cloth, I have wiped it down. Either way, I think it's the bottom line is you're trying to take off the medium that the mushrooms grown in. Depends upon, there's different kinds of mediums that they grow mushrooms in. Sometimes I can't even, I don't even want to guess, but there's different mediums. And it's usually I know that they're, anybody have any answers on that? I don't want to try and guess that one. I can get back to you at the next.
Yeah, it's okay. I was going to say, it all just depends on where you were. I was recently in Cambodia and we did a Cambodian cooking class and we watched them how they do it in this kind of different wood and it's a lot of different ways. It could be anything from like trees or, in the ground
Right.
or, so there's so many different
Uh-huh.
ways in where you are. So I think that's, part of it is that just kind of, I think you said it really well, just wipe off the medium of what it's growing in and you still have the flavor. So thanks for that.
Exactly. Okay. So what I did was I put in the shoyu olive oil balsamic mirin mixture. I've already got my dried oregano in there. I'm tossing in my little salt and pepper here, just by taste. That was probably like a quarter to a half a teaspoon of salt and maybe a eighth of pepper. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on excuse me, make this over here. We're going to put it on, I only have 2 roasting pans. So they're going to put it on my parchment lined roasting pan. And then I'm going to flatten it like I did the other one. Yeah, so it all cooks evenly. Now you can see what I said a little earlier about making if I'm going to do a root vegetable that I'm not going to pre-cook. Like I could have lightly steamed the carrots, but what I did was I just sliced them really thin. So I'm hoping that they're going to cook evenly with the mushrooms, onion, daikon, pre-cooked, partially cooked potatoes, and a little bit of broccoli. Yeah, okay, so I got that all down. It's got well seasoned. And now I'm going to put it in the oven. And then what I do, sorry, I'm doing it on the side and you guys probably can't see it, right? Sorry. Okay, so I got it all flattened.
Perfect.
The other thing too is if you're going to do beets, which are so delicious, it's a wonderful flavor. They make everything red. So whether that's an issue or not, but they do taste so good. And depending upon the size of your chunks, you could pre-cook those too, because they take a little while to roast. So you want kind of everything to cook evenly. Sometimes if you don't do that, think about the root vegetables, their size and in relationship to the other things you're cooking. They can take forever, and then poking your beet and it's really hard, but everything else is like turning to mush, and so it's just kind of think about that, or just do all root vegetables. Then you're that's golden and you don't have the issue. But things like cauliflower and cauliflower and broccoli, they cook really fast. So on the other side of the coin, if you just want things to cook really fast, right, you don't have a lot of time, you could probably speed up this whole process by doing things like, again, like zucchini, broccoli, cauliflower, bell peppers, they'll all cook quite quickly. So, okay, so I've got this here ready to go in the oven. And when I use, because I have, if any of you folks would do this like me and use the toaster oven, the small like tabletop ovens, I think about airflow in the oven. So I will turn down my paper like that inside the ridge, the edge of this pan, because it's not going over, because it's kind of tight going in. And I want the heat of the oven to come up around the pan. And if this flap of paper is kind of touching then the sides of this toaster oven, it'll not make the heat and the baking work at its optimum level. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yep.
Some of the things
We-
I think about.
I
Yes.
don't know if you have
Yes.
the answer to this. We did get a question asking, I'm assuming when it says, can you eat it raw? I'm assuming you're meaning like the squash or the pumpkin. It's probably kind of like a potato. But that was a question for you, Chef.
I have never eaten
Yeah.
kabocha raw. I don't think I'd want to personally.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have had it just slivered really. That's pretty cool, but it's not, I don't know if you
Oh,
could do
beets. There
Oh,
we go.
beets
Sorry, the
raw.
question
Yeah.
was beets.
Of course. Yeah, you can eat beets. Yeah, they have them like spiralized or grated into
Yes.
salads. Yeah. Yum.
Sorry, I misunderstood the question. So there's your
Mm-mm.
answer. I thought it
Mhm.
was, I didn't know the answer for the other. Thank you, Chef.
I was just thinking about the kabocha. I've been to a restaurant, which probably folks have been out and about and had it too, but it was like a Japanese soup, like a spicy kind of a tauntaun kind of a soup, but they had like shaved the kabocha into like little strips and cooked it into the soup. That was really cool. So it's like really thin strips, cooks really quickly in the liquid medium. But yeah.
Yeah.
We were
Have
talking
another
about
great
these.
question about for
Yes.
roasting. Is convection setting on a toaster oven, is it better to do? I think that's a great question about convection
It
versus
is.
regular baking. Do you have a preference? Or I know it cooks it
No.
quicker, it can, but
Right. I do have convection. I do it not consistently, but I think it's more time effective too, right? So you're not using the electricity as long. And then I make sure again that the convection fan doesn't like make the paper all move around too much to affect the baking. But that's a good, usually its convection is 25 degrees less in the same time, I believe. Let me know if I'm wrong. I think it's 25 degrees lower on the convection setting, but the time is the same. And then it will cook it like if you did the regular conventional way. Am I right? I think that's how
I
I
have to
do
look
it.
that up, but
when I-
that's good.
Yeah.
But I
25
think
degrees less.
And I think that's true, you can try, give it a try or see what you'd like. It just,
Mhm.
but don't be scared of roasting. And all these recipes are based on baking. It's not convection. So the recipes that we have are based on just baking at 350. Is that right? Or I just want to make sure.
Yes, they are. And so just I wanted to finish up and then with this is the cooked half of the recipe. This is what it looks like coming out. And I didn't add, bell peppers add a little bit of color, but I was just trying to choose different things because we're doing two different recipes and the first one had bell pepper. This one you add in some fresh parsley again, or you could do, any fresh herb, cilantro, parsley. But this just makes it a little colorful. What I wanted to just allude to is I just really got the gratitude part of making good food for yourself, how important it is. And I was just had a really busy last like 3 weeks, and I was getting to the point that I was coming home late and the food wasn't available, and it was like, oh wow, I really get this, you know. It's because usually because I cook for people, I always like have food around, and I wasn't able to cook, and I'm like, oh, it is so important to be able to come home no matter when and just be able to put something healthy together. And so I just wanted to reiterate, if, you know, even if you can carve out an hour or two a week, wherever it is, and just power out, you know, some food. If you're going to roast, like we're talking about, this is an oven setting, you can even just, you know, pop in some sweet potatoes if you're roasting some of this, or pop in, you know, just roast several things at the same time. Use the oven heat. You know, you can use quick cooking things to add in if you were doing, like, circling back to, if you were doing the cauliflower and the broccoli and zucchini, something like that, thin slices of onion. You could also add in eggplant. That cooks really quick. But just being able to think forward and just have some food waiting for you when you come home, no matter how your day was, is such a blessing, you know, that you're not scrambling trying to find something to eat and you don't know how healthy it is, or, you know, just defaulting to eating something like, you know, chips or crackers because, you know, because you're just super hungry and there's nothing around, you know, made. Yeah, I get it. I'm very thankful to have food. Just a little bit of.
That's great. It is true.
Yeah,
And
we all live.
You'll go right ahead.
No, I mean, we all just live busy lives. And if we just have a little bit of forethought to just plan ahead a little bit, I think it makes our life so much easier.
And I think that's what we're trying to show here, is that it doesn't take a lot of effort or time to make something that is so good for us, so good for our health, and so nice to have on the table quickly. So I think you're really showing us we can do that.
I'm going to just put this on a plate real quick. I'll be right back.
Yep. And I think the other thing, when you look at the recipe, you know, for the savory roasted vegetables, 4 cups of vegetables of your choice. And that's what I think is exciting is, you know, we give you some guidelines of what to use and what tastes nice together. But the idea is find what you like, try to, you know, cut them in size and shape about the same, but don't get scared about trying different vegetables and roasting them. So I love that you had that in the recipe, Chef, that, you know, 4 cups of vegetables of your choice.
Right. And then I did, you know, add in the chickpeas on this one, just because I think they just roast up so nice to add chickpeas. Oh, a little bowl of nice vegetables, and along the same lines, you know, the next day it's going to taste that much more deliciousness, as Dr. Jun says. Yeah. The flavors all melding in. Yum.
Perfect. That's wonderful.
You know.
So, Chef, if it's okay, since we're almost down to the end, I don't know if you have anything else to show there. If I can put the, you know, people have questions, they can have them come in. Maybe before I change back, you could show your first recipe with it. Put both of them on the screen for us one more time. The first one in the lettuce,
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
since, yeah, just so we can look at it before I put the PowerPoint back up. But fantastic, 2 great recipes, lots of food for a nice dinner, for lunch. Thank you. Those look terrific. So we hope that you're inspired with that. I'm going to put up our PowerPoint one more time since we're getting close to the end of our class. Let's see, just want to let you know we're glad you are here. We have this class and many others through the Health Education Department. If you want to come again, we're usually here the 4th Monday of the month. Sometimes, I think there was just one that was a different time, but our next class is going to be on July 24th. May, if you don't mind, it's on the screen, but if you could put in the chat, just again, if you aren't registered for it and you want to, you can come, and it's on 432-2260 to register. We have fantastic coaches, classes, dietitians, people here to help you if you're trying to make changes. You can call that number as well to get a coach. We're here to help you get healthy. We're here to help you break through and get some action plans to making the steps to cooking and exercising. So we're here for you with that. May had put in earlier, we have different classes. Get your plate in shape if you want to learn a little bit more. Some of you might be completely vegan. Some of you might be working towards getting there. We have a Viva Veggies class, lots of great classes through Kaiser Permanente. So Chef, I'm going to let people if they have questions, but I want to say thank you so much always for everything that you share with us once a month. You inspire us. I hope everyone goes and tries to cook this recipe. Again, I'm going to just go back on your original email are the links that are on that email, and that's where you can get the recipes. Okay. So they're in there. If you're like, I don't have the recipe, go back to your original email and you will find that. So anything you want to say, Chef, before we kind of close out our class?
No, nothing is popping in. I think I thought of, all the different tips on the cooking, cutting, roasting. I hope you enjoy these recipes.
Yeah, they're really fun. And I do like the fact that it doesn't take a lot to get a sheet tray full of food and just nice vegetables, and it doesn't take a lot of effort. You just put them in, cook them, and they
Yeah.
taste delicious. And
I
I
would
yeah, Go
just
ahead.
add that, you might have some extra dressing from the kabocha. So it's always nice. You can just use that as a regular salad dressing if you have some left over. So depending upon how much it absorbs, because some kabocha is drier than others. So that's why I say add the dressing as you feel you need it, then it absorbs in. But this one was kind of moist, so I didn't use as much dressing. So then you have it for something else.
Fantastic.
Okay.
So we had, let's see, any questions? What tabletop oven do you have? I don't know.
Oh,
If
it's a
that,
Breville. Yeah, I don't know if that really, but I really love it.
Okay. So we wish you good cooking. If you have questions, we'll be here for a little while. Roasted roots recipe again. If you kind of scroll back up on the screen, I had put a couple of slides. I can put them again. Just you can click on that. If not, it is in your recipe. It's in your email. I'll do it again for you. Let's see if that helps. If that's the one you meant, I'll put both of them back up there. Anything else? Any other questions? Wow, Chef, we did it and we did it like in our
I know.
time. That's so shocking. We never get that down, but you've made me hungry and I'm really happy that we're all gonna go and hopefully try these great recipes. So we appreciate your time. Thank you, May,
Thank you.
for being here and helping keep the class going. And again, Chef Alyssa, we're always so grateful.
Thank you. That's
Okay.
fun.
Okay. Let's see. How about that? Is that the right one, Diane? See if that's the savory one. All
Yeah,
right, you
aloha.
guys. There you go.
I wanted to ask a quick question. I'm sorry, I'm at the beach, so I can't
Yeah.
find my chat box right now. And so, Chef, thank you. Oh my goodness, I volunteered to come over and help sample so I can let everyone know how it tastes. But my question is that I have a whole bunch of frozen veggies. Can I do this with frozen veggies? Would I thaw it first, run it underwater, or can I just put them frozen? Because I'm also not using oil. I'm in the HOPE program. So would that, even if it's frozen, kind of help add to the, to put moisture in the pan while I roast them? What would you say to that?
Oh, wow. Okay. I think you could probably do it either way, but my first thought would be just put it in frozen. If they're already cut, and are they already frozen and mixed, like a mixed frozen?
Yeah, they're already frozen. Yeah, and they're like cut up already. Like got some broccoli and cauliflower, like a whole bunch of mix going
I
on,
would
and I
just
have a lot.
put it
Okay,
in
go
a
ahead.
bowl, the 4 cups, and then follow, just put in all the other ingredients except for the oil, and toss it and put it on a parchment lined paper. And it might take a little while to cook, a little longer, but if it's the cauliflower and broccoli, it might be done in 20-30 minutes. Just check it halfway through. and see what's happening. And then you can move forward with the rest of your frozen vegetables at another time. Sounds like a great idea.
Great question.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. And one other
You're
thing, while
welcome.
you're roasting them, like you did this batch, they were all fresh.
Mhm.
Do you have to stir them like halfway through, check it out, and like give them a good mix, or you just
I didn't.
put them in
I
for
just
the whole? Okay.
I put them in for the whole, and I just kind of leveled it out so that they were all evenly layered. It doesn't hurt to do that, but I didn't need to.
I love it. Thank you so much. I can't wait to
Okay.
go home and whip this up. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're inspiring us. It's great. Inspiring us and making everyone hungry. So you guys have a wonderful rest of your evening. I hope if you're switching gears from your day to the evening, take a moment outside, a mindful moment, breathe in our beautiful Hawaiian air and go enjoy your evenings. Thanks for joining us. Thank you again,
Thank you.
Chef.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye to everyone. And again, if you have some questions while you have Chef, she's still on the line. You got her for another minute. You're welcome. Bye-bye. Yes, every time, Chef, it looks, we start and wonder, and it always ends beautifully, and you always make us hungry, and we're just going to keep you virtually on our screens every month. You can't get away because in all our houses on all these islands, we're getting inspired to cook more plant-based foods. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. May, anything I forgot? Anything you can think
No,
of? I think we
no,
got it. Great.
it was great. Lots of good comments, lots of tips coming in
Mm-hmm.
from folks, and also lots of gratitude to Chef for the tips that she shared. So thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I really do love doing roasted vegetables because it's just you have them and we do big sheet trays full of them and they just taste so good. It's something and whenever I'm in doubt and I'm like, oh, what do I eat the next day for lunch? It tastes good. And just like I love it in the lettuce, you kind of got me started with making these little lettuce bowls for my food.
Yeah.
So that's great.
Yeah.
All right. So if we don't have any more questions, I wish everyone a great evening. Aloha. And I'm going to close down our meeting. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Everybody,
Bye.
bye.
Bye.